Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Eagles Latest on Fan Arch. I'm your host, Blake McQueary. And of course, Eagles content. That's what you're here for. It's Eagles Latest, baby. I mean, we got all the updates, we got all the stats, we got all the news, the predictions, the analyzations. We got it all over here at Eagles Latest. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your grandmas, whatever the case may be. If there's Eagles fans, come see me. Um, In terms of news today, we've got, like I say, we always got a lot because it's the Eagles. We always, every single day, we got a lot of news to talk about. It is what it is. We've got some bad news though today to talk about. Um, so, without further ado, let's get right to it. It's right first up. Nolan Smith, Eagles outside linebacker, Nolan Smith Jr. was placed on IR today. They announced it. Well, they announced it on Wednesday. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so that's why I say today. They announced it on Wednesday that he's going to be placed on IR. What did Smith do? He re aggravated his tricep that he had injured in the Super Bowl in February. That tricep injury required surgery. He had surgery the week after the game. So he re aggravated that. And Nolan's had kind of a history of these type of injuries dating back to college. He even he kind of actually hurt his tricep a little bit in college. It wasn't as severe, obviously, but um, did that. He had some pec issues, things like that in college. So he's had these types of injuries dating back to college. But re-aggravated basically that tricep injury that he had in the Super Bowl. He's expected to miss at least 5 weeks. That's basically what IR is. It's a range of 4 to 5 weeks. That gives him a return time of right after the Eagles' bye. So, what games? What does that mean? What does that timetable mean? What games will he miss? What will he not miss? He is going to miss obviously the Bucks game this Sunday. He's going to miss the Broncos. He is going to miss the Giants twice, and he is going to miss the Vikings. Schedule wise, it actually works out pretty well. Not really ideal missing the Bucks game this Sunday. I think it's going to be a very tough game for Philly. Philly kind of always Tampa always plays Philly very tough. Obviously, you know, taking into account the past few times that they've played, Philly hasn't been fully injured. That's why it's actually weird. I'll talk about that in a second, but it's kind of weird. Tampa Bay week. It's very weird. The Broncos next week. Broncos, they're a tough team. They haven't started off. Why does my flashlight do that? It did it last episode as well. Um, but the Broncos, they haven't started off kind of how people imagined. They have kind of struggled in their own ways. And plus, that's an AFC team. I mean, losing to an AFC team isn't really the biggest concern for an NFC team in the regular season. So not really too worried about that Denver game, obviously. And then you go the Giants twice. Obviously, you want to win those games. That is in division games. The Obviously the Giants started off 0-3. No one's expecting them to have a good season. They're just flat out not a good football team. But those in division games can be tricky. Those are games that no matter who is good, those are tough games because they're in division games. So one of those games could be a little wonky for the Eagles. And then the Vikings. The Vikings obviously struggling a little bit. They had a huge Week 1 win in J.J. McCarthy's debut that everybody raved about. He is not going to be playing in that game. He is out for around 7 weeks. So he is going to actually miss that game. That is going to be Carson Wentz actually playing in that game. So that is going to be very, very interesting. Obviously Wentz, no introductions needed for Carson Wentz. But yeah, I mean, schedule wise, it just works out pretty well. This is probably the weakest stretch of Philly's schedule. And you're missing Nolan Smith. So it's kind of a good time to miss him. The game he's expected to return for, and that's why I say this is the weakest stretch of their schedule. because the game that he is expected back for is November 10th against the Green Bay Packers. You have heard me talk about the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, to me, are arguably the biggest threat in the NFC to the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, Detroit's in there. Tampa Bay this upcoming Sunday is in there. That's why Tampa Bay is, a pretty huge game. But I'm not going to talk about the stakes of the Tampa Bay game just yet. But, returning for that Green Bay game will be huge. And I think, unfortunately, that is the minimum amount of time he's supposed to miss. So it could be a good chance he doesn't return for that Green Bay game, but you never know. Looking at Smith's stats this year so far through 3 games, 10 total tackles, 4 solo, 6 assisted, 1 forced fumble. Now, how do the Eagles make up for Smith? How do they replace his production while he is gone? This is going to be more reps for Josh Uch. I have talked about Uch a few episodes ago last week. Kind of the production he's been able to give, the dominance he's been able to give, the ability that he has in creating pressures, especially, in the pass rush. He's been huge. He is going to have to step up, and he is going to have to step up in a huge way. Zadarius Smith, Azeez Ojulari, backups to Nolan Smith. Those guys are going to have to obviously be impactful. Zadarius Smith, we've seen him in his debut against Kansas City, was immediately impactful. He is a veteran guy that has been around this league for a good amount of time. He has, the stamps. He has the experience, things like that. Not really worried about Z Smith and what he's going to do in Nolan Smith's place. On the opposite side, Jalen Hunt, he is going to need to get after it. He is absolutely going to need to get after it. He is going to have a very good stretch of games here while Nolan Smith is on the sideline. Now, also, Nakobe Dean. This is why I say, this is also on top of the schedule, this is also why I say this is probably the best time for Nolan Smith to miss time. Because you lose Smith, if you forgot, Nakobe Dean comes back next week. Yes, he does. How will Fangio use Dean, though, with Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell obviously playing lights out as arguably one of the best linebacker duos in the NFL? I think we will see Fangio get super creative with his scheme. Obviously, now that Smith is out, if it's one guy to figure out how this will work, it's Fangio. He's going to figure out, how am I going to replace Smith now that Nakobe Dean is back? Where am I going to put these guys? Obviously, Campbell and Bond playing lights out. Everyone just assumed that once Dean came back, he would basically take over Campbell's spot. Campbell has been one of the best linebackers in the NFL, so I don't think that's going to really happen. What I do think is going to happen, though, is you're going to see either Dean or Campbell, especially now that Nolan Smith is out, taking Smith's place while he is gone. If I had to choose one, I will say it's going to be Jahad Campbell. Jahad Campbell has the tangibles. He has the ability to rush the quarterback. We have seen that, obviously. I think Jahad Campbell, I said it probably in one of the first episodes of this channel, that Jahad Campbell can be a Micah Parsons in this league. And I think now, once Dean is back, Smith is out, I think that is where we are going to see that potential. We are going to see basically a trial of what can Jahad Campbell be as an edge rusher. And I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it. Moving on to injury updates. We have a few injury updates aside from Nolan Smith. The Eagles are pretty banged up returning to practice on Wednesday. And this is now I want to talk about Tampa Bay week. It is getting really weird. It is. It's getting really weird that come Tampa Bay week every single year for the past 3 seasons, the Philly guys are just banged up. Absolutely banged up. You remember last matchup, the Eagles played without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts was throwing to Johnny Wilson, Watkins. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. But from the injury report, the injury practice report today, Zach Bond, he was in a big knee brace. His status was did not participate. Huge. His other linebacker, the best linebacker duo in the NFL, Jahad Campbell, was listed with a triceps injury, and his status was did not participate. That is 2 huge losses if they are not able to get right and get healthy for this Tampa Bay game. Philly does not want to walk into Tampa Bay without those two guys. One of the two is manageable. Without both of them, it's going to be very tough. Now, an update on the number 2 cornerback. I talked about it last episode. I asked the question, is it Kelee Ringo time? I even mentioned in that episode, we are going to have updates once they practice on Wednesday. What is the status of Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett? Adoree Jackson, he was listed as did not participate with his groin injury on Wednesday. Jacorian Bennett, he was also placed on IR with Nolan Smith. So, as far as Jacorian Bennett goes, it's looking like Jacorian Bennett is not going to play on Sunday. That's a given. He is placed on IR. He's not going to play Sunday. Perry Nickerson, he was signed to the 53-man roster on Wednesday. So, obviously, they are preparing to play without Jacorian Bennett. Adoree Jackson, on the other hand, did not participate with his groin injury. Obviously, we are going to see as days develop where he is, what his status is, things like that. It's looking more and more likely that Kelee Ringo will get his shot on Sunday. Like I said in last episode, though, I am excited for that. I think Ringo has a different type of hunger. I think he should have a different type of motivation, a different type of passion, determination to prove not only this Eagles coaching staff wrong, but prove the fans wrong. Everybody anticipated that he was going to be the guy at cornerback number 2. And he just struggled in the preseason and offseason. I talked about it last episode. I talked about it in episodes before. He was supposed to be that guy and kind of let a lot of people down. So that's that. Moving on to the red zone and the Eagles. Their red zone success is top notch. I mean, the Eagles are the best in the NFL when we're talking about red zone. And quite frankly, it's why they're winning games. It really is. Who has the highest red zone touchdown rate in the NFL this season? The Eagles do, at 100%. Philadelphia's offense has been inside opponents' 20-yard line 8 times and has scored 8 times. That is the best in the NFL, like I just mentioned. They are converting. When they get in the red zone, they are converting, obviously. I think you might know what a big contributor it is. Not even converting in touchdowns, but converting before the touchdowns, converting on downs. A big contributor has been converting on 3rd and 4th downs. Shout out to the tush push that every opposing team fan base does not like. I mean, it's not even on the offensive side. Like, let's look at the offensive side of the ball a little bit more. Obviously, I've talked about the greatness of Jalen Hurts, the IQ of Jalen Hurts. You get the ball. Obviously, the ball starts in his hands every single snap, but let him make the decisions. Let him have a free range of, in terms of the passing game, let him kind of determine where things are going, how aggressive they are going to be, things like that. Good things will happen. He has been stellar. He has been absolutely stellar. Everyone wants to diminish his name, talk about he is not a good quarterback, he's not top 5. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Let's get that out the way. I've talked about that. I've said it. It's that. But their offense is converting in the red zone at 100% rate. And it's winning them football games. And it's not only on offense, it's on the defensive side too. They have been elite in the red zone on defense as well. Defensively, the Eagles' touchdown percentage allowed in the red zone is 44.4%. That is tied for 7th best in the league. We obviously seen in the opener against Dallas. Dallas was 2 of 3 in the red zone, but the miss was huge. The Eagles obviously forced and recovered that fumble. That was basically the changing of the momentum in that game. Right before the weather delay hit, I talked about it in that episode, that post-game episode. After the Dallas game, that was a huge moment within that game. That was probably the game winner for the Eagles, aside from Zach Bond's touchdown saving tackle on Miles Sanders. And then you go to week 2 at Kansas City. Andrew McCuba's interception at the goal line. That turned the game around, and that was obviously literally the proved difference maker in that game. That led them to that victory. That was the game winner right there. Adam Schefter wanted to say the game was won in March in the tush push. No, the game was won. Andrew Makuba picked off Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce dropped that pass, obviously. And then on Sunday against Los Angeles, the Rams were held to a pair of field goals, a touchdown, and a blocked field goal. Jordan Davis returned that field goal for a touchdown. Obviously, that was the walk-off there. That was the story of the game, was that play. In 4 trips inside of the Philadelphia's 20-yard line, you see how much a difference that made. That being, the pair of field goals, the touchdown and a blocked field goal. Being able to force missed opportunities, whether that be 0 points or forcing opposing teams to settle for field goals and not score touchdowns, and then on the offensive side, being able to convert that into touchdowns yourself 100% in the red zone. I don't know how you beat a team like that. I simply don't know how you beat a team like that at all. Absolutely not. And this shows kind of how dominant this Philadelphia Eagles team is, how good they are, how efficient they are. The numbers are right there, and it's their success in the red zone that's getting it done. Now, moving on to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All focus shifts to the Buccaneers today, Wednesday. Obviously, I know this video is coming out on Thursday. All focus shifted to the Buccaneers on Wednesday. We're going to analyze, like I do every week, the strengths and weaknesses of this Bucs team. I have a lot more strengths than weaknesses because this Buccaneers team is pretty good. I think it is time to note that they are 3-0. Obviously, you can go look at that record at wherever. Everyone should know that the Buccaneers are 3-0. But they have beat teams who have combined for a total record of 1-8 through their first 3 games. 1-8. And they have beaten those teams within the last minute of each game. We'll talk about that in a second. But I just want to note that. I think that can go under a weakness. I just want to note that first. Now, strengths. Obviously, the quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Stats this season. 615 total passing yards. He has 6 passing touchdowns. That's 5th in the NFL. He's thrown 0 interceptions. And he has a 72.9 QBR. That is 6th in the NFL. He is the one who has led them on 3 game-winning drives with 2 minutes left or under. They have scored touchdowns with 1 minute left or under. Once again, those three games were against teams that have totaled a losing record of 1-8 over each of their 3 games. They're beating bad teams in the very last minute. Now, in terms of, let's go back to Baker though for a little bit, just for a second. His ability, obviously, he has shown since he's gotten to Tampa Bay that he is an elite quarterback. He is an elite passer. That is just who Baker is. He wins football games. He is a winner. He is. What has stuck out to me the most this year in those 3 games is his ability to use his legs. He has been very efficient in that aspect of his game. 116 rushing yards on just 12 carries. Very efficient. Very efficient with his legs. It has been kind of a huge factor in the Buccaneers winning these games. I think he has had huge runs on all 3 of those game-winning drives. I mean, he has been stellar when using his legs. So that's their first strength, obviously. The second strength, that's Todd Bowles, their head coach. His blitzing. Bowles loves to blitz. According to Next Gen Stats, the Eagles have been blitzed 37.9% of their passing downs, 5th most in the NFL. Tampa Bay blitzes at a rate of 38.2%, 5th most in the NFL. Boyles has blitzed Hurts on 93 of 199 passing attempts in the 5 meetings between the teams, a blitz percentage of 46.7% per Next Gen Stats. So Bowles is basically blitzing Jalen Hurts on almost half of his passing attempts. He loves to blitz. We have to remember Todd Bowles. This is a guy who cracked the code on defeating Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He when he was with Tom Brady, that defense got after Patrick Mahomes. We hadn't seen a defense dominate Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense like we had in that Super Bowl. And that was all Todd Bowles. And the Eagles basically replicated that in the last Super Bowl to defeat Mahomes and become Super Bowl champions. So Todd Bowles, very, very good coach who loves the blitz. Expect a lot of blitzes on Sunday against Hurts. The weakness that I have written down is the offensive line. I truly don't believe that this Tampa Bay Buccaneers has much more weaknesses. Might say, their rushing offense. I don't believe so. They have very good backs, led by Bucky Irving. You can say their cornerbacks. I don't think so. Their secondary is actually very good. Their secondary, I think their top two tacklers is guys in their secondary. But their offensive line, obviously. So let me go back to that rushing attack just real quick. I'm not going to say the rushing offense is a weakness for them because of the caliber of players they have at running back. But the offensive line has struggled, and that has caused for their rush offense to be a little bit inefficient. So I'm going to go with the offensive line. They have struggled. The Eagles need to get after them. If it's one thing that the Eagles can lick their chops at as an advantage is going against bad offensive lines. They did it in Kansas City. They're doing it again this week. Even the LA Rams' offensive line was not good. So take advantage of that if you are the Eagles. That is all we have for today. As always, stay up to date with Eagles' latest on FanArch. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.